Hello, my name is Christian Gutierrez, and did you know that every year around 1.2 million students drop out of high school in the United States? Of these students, 75% of them will commit a crime in their lifetime. One of these students included Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is an American actor who rose to fame and wealth despite facing hardships in his life. I will first discuss the early stages of his life and childhood. Secondly, I will explain why he was sentenced a 3-year prison term. And thirdly, I will tell you about his career and the success he has accomplished from it. Robert John Downey Jr., was born April 4th, 1965, in New York City, New York. His father was an underground filmmaker and gave Downey his first gig at just 5 years old. His mother was an aspiring actress who suffered with alcoholism problems. According to an article titled Robert Downey Jr., American Actor, written by John Cunningham, after dropping out of high school in California, Downey returned to New York City to pursue an acting career. Personally, I can't imagine the feeling of being so bold as to drop out of high school to pursue an acting career. Maybe college, but surely not high school. He started having some success, landing a couple of minor roles, but in 1992, he received a star role in Richard Attenborough's Chaplin, to which he received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. His fame in the early stages of his life were unfortunately overshadowed to what was to come in 1999. This is where he started facing a lot of hardships in his life. In the early stages of his life, his mom was dealing with the same types of problems with alcoholism and things like that. His father, on the other hand, was a little well-known filmmaker, but didn't suffer these same problems. Downey had a great reign in his career in the 90s, but it was always unfortunately overshadowed by the mistakes he made in his personal life. According to Karen Workman of the New York Times, Downey was arrested on drug and weapon charges in 1996 after he was stopped by the police, who found an unloaded weapon, .357 Magnum, and small amounts of heroin and cocaine in his car. After multiple probation violations, he was sentenced to a prison sentence in 1999. Now, although he was sentenced a 3-year term, he was given an early release in 2000, to which he went straight back to pursuing an acting career. Despite being granted the early release, Downey continued to abuse drugs such as cocaine and heroin up until early 2000s, when he sought rehab. Help in rehab, This is the part where things were really dark for Downey. As far as I was reading into, he was going through a really rough time. He had said, he quoted that he had hit rock bottom at this time in his life, and that these were really dark stages. That he always felt that he had this need for these drugs, which is why he sought help in rehab. Downey had hit an all-time rock bottom, but turned his life completely around in 2002. That's where he made his comeback. In 2003, he appeared in 16 films, where his success started to skyrocket. However, most of his success came from the household family favorite film, Iron Man. In the first film, he earned an estimated total of $500,000. This was considered low for that type of film. But this was just the beginning. Iron Man 2, he earned an estimated $10 million, and in Iron Man 3, he earned an estimated $70 million. That's not to mention how much he earned in other films such as Avengers Endgame, and Captain America Civil War, as well as Spider-Man Homecoming. He continued on with his roles in Hollywood and became so wealthy that his estimated net worth in 2022, this year, is $305 million. I can't imagine what he would do with that type of money, but it's safe to say he earned the success he has received, because even though he made mistakes, everyone has a past, but everyone deserves a second chance. He just made his worth the while. Now that you know about Robert Downey Jr.'s early life, the hardships he has faced, and the success he's made, I think it's safe to say that being a high school dropout doesn't sound that scary anymore. Even though I personally would never do that. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and with the right people and a great amount of support, a star can be born from anywhere. That is how Downey rose to success after facing hardships in his life. He was married in the early 2000s as well, and after his wedding is when he was in Iron Man. And once he became known as the Iron Man, that's where all his success just skyrocketed, where he's been nominated for countless Golden Globes, he's received countless Golden Globes, and he's received countless nominations for Academy Awards as well. And now I'm going to show you a 1-minute video on one of my favorite acting moments for Robert Downey Jr.